Be the inviter, a meditation. I have never been the inviter. I think it's because I always felt different. I never felt like I really belonged anywhere. Painfully shy, I just faded into the background. I would always wait for someone to approach me, but I would never approach them. I always carried around with me the feeling that whatever I had to say didn't really matter much to anyone. Being born quiet, unsure, and afraid, only compounded by the fact that I grew up around boisterous, self-assured people, only made me retreat more into myself. My experiences in grade school only made me hate myself more. In addition to being quiet and unfriendly, I was also about a foot taller than anyone in my class. I felt like a giant, and I became very uncomfortable in my own skin at a very young age. I didn't feel accepted, and thus began the narrative that I began to believe for the next 40 years of my life. I don't belong. It's hard to be the inviter when you don't feel invited yourself. It's hard to pursue others when you don't feel wanted. Honestly, even now, years after my healing, I still feel uncomfortable in groups and struggle with speaking up. You'll never see me walk up to a stranger and introduce myself. I can remember my mother always telling me a reoccurring story. My mom used to tell me that she'd come to the playground and see me playing all by myself. Sad to say, that's still who I am. Sure, I try to make friends and I do okay for a while, certainly much better than I used to do. But in the end, I still end up being that girl playing alone. But God has been teaching me what it means to be an inviter. About a year ago, God called me to start a Zoom group, and at the time I was attending Calvary Church. The pastor was preaching about being an inviter. I was put off by the message and thought, surely this doesn't apply to me. I was beginning to start a second session for the group, and several people had conflicts and couldn't attend. As I was praying and looking for women to invite to the group, God spoke softly to me. You are the inviter. I realized that I was inviting women on an adventure of discovering who their hearts are in Jesus. Recently, I received some healing in my heart. I was reading the book, The 7 Primal Questions by Mike Foster. The book talks about how we all have a question in our life and how we look to others to answer our question. I came to the chapter on Am I Wanted? I was aware that this wound has never been quite healed. I knew I wanted to feel accepted and pursued, and I was afraid of being excluded and replaced. And in any given situation, I was always asking, do I belong? Do I fit in? Do you want me? God began to speak in my heart and reminded me of all the women throughout the years that I was intentional with. I would call them and say, let's get together. We'd connect and I'd feel so loved and wanted. In my mind, I always thought I was the worst at relationships, but God was beginning to change my narrative. He said, you have mastered the art of relationship. Then I do go after and pursue others and help them to feel loved and wanted. Who better than the one who knows what it feels like to be picked last? I'm learning slowly that I don't have to be accepted by all. Only those who God has placed in my life. So these days, I'm grateful for all the women God has placed in my life. God has really shrunk my circle, but I think He's trying to heal something deep inside of me. I'm intentional with the one He's given me, and I'm learning what Jesus means when He says, it is better to invite those who never get an invitation. God is always calling us closer in relationship. Who has God placed in your life right now? Who is He calling you to pursue? Who needs your love? Who needs to be seen and pursued? Be the inviter. Invite others into your heart and into the heart of Jesus.